Thank you for joining us here on the ice on Amateur Sports TV. On today's episode, Darrin Nicholas, the president of the SIJHL, has some news for us. Finally, we're seeing a modified hockey game, and they're going to try and show it as best they can in the SIJHL over the coming months, leading into the new year with some preseason action. We'll talk to Darrin about the process and how long it's taken, and quite frankly, how the process has been out of their hands. This complete time, it continues to be out of their hands in terms of public health and maintaining safety restrictions and guidelines and all those wonderful words we've used over the last 6 months. So here on the ice, please welcome Darrin Nicholas, the president of the SJHL. Darrin, thank you so much for taking some time. Your phone has been off the hook. It's been busy. You've been dealing with everything from left to right, up and down the ice, offsides, insides. How you doing? Catching your breath?
Yeah, it's I think this is kind of what a commissioner of a league should be doing at this time of year if you're a junior hockey commissioner. So it's been exceptionally busy, but it's it's busy with good stuff. We're finally talking about putting players on the ice and dropping a puck. So it's been a grind, but good to finally be here.
So good to finally be here. Give us the latest update you can on the SIJHL in terms of when we will see some sort of hockey between two teams in the not so distant future.
Yeah, so things came together relatively quickly. So we're going to kick off our preseason schedule this coming weekend. So Friday night, November 6th, the two Thunder Bay area teams, the North Stars and our expansion team, Cam River Fighting Walleye, are going to take to the ice, and that'll be the start of a series for them. They're going to play 8 times and acclimatize themselves, if you will, to their new environment. And the rest of our Western-based teams are going to be ready to go the following weekend. So we'll kick it off with them the following weekend, which starts on November 13th out in Dryden, Red Lake.
So Dryden and Red Lake will play against each other. The two Thunder Bay teams will play against each other. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Kind of, what's been a big kind of roadblock in the whole thing is there's legislation in Ontario that says that leagues can't consist of more than 50 players or 50 participants. And, what that means in the context of junior hockey is that, if you have leagues that have greater than that, you have to partition them up so that, your numbers of athletes interacting with each other can't be greater than 50. So, up until last week, what we were told was that means that, the first two teams that jump in against each other are basically married at the hip until further notice. So, once you enter that cohort, you can't get out. So in the context of a regular season, that means playing each other 42 times, which isn't feasible, right? And we asked the question a while back saying, okay, that's the situation, but is there any way to basically reset those cohorts and take a period of inactivity and then kind of, divorce yourself from the team that you jumped in with and be able to jump in with somebody else? And the feedback we got from the health units here was that, that wasn't permissible under their interpretation, but they were going to go back to the ministry that's making the rules and ask for a clarification on that. And we got word late last week that yes, indeed, we could reset our cohort, if you will, following a 14-day period of inactivity. So that kind of paved the way for us to then, start talking about getting back on the ice and what does that mean? And quite frankly, as it sits right now, we're the next hurdle on our list that we have to try and overcome is just some of the barriers in the facilities that we operate in. So, there's indoor gathering limits in Ontario. There's certainly different interpretations of what, how many players can be active on the ice at the same time. So, each facility seems to be, not quite as aligned on that as we think they should be. So, we've got everything from facilities opening up the red carpet saying, yes, we have dressing rooms available to use. And we'll allow you the 50 spectators that are permitted under Ontario legislation to, no, there's no dressing rooms available, no fans available in the stands, and you can only have 25 people participating on ice, kind of thing. So, still a couple of things that we got to overcome before we start a regular season, but we've got an environment now where at least we can get back on the ice and drop a puck.
Like you said, you've got an environment to get back on the ice. Tell me, Darrin, from a feasibility standpoint, how is it that you're going to operate come regular season, preseason action when it does start, when you have limited fans, limited revenues for these teams? Is there a contingency plan, or is there a plan in place to see this through and not cause, a crazy strife on the owners of these teams and the communities, but, making sure that this is being done properly from all levels?
Yeah, it's there's certainly examples from across the country as well, and I mean, let's face it, there's our league is funded to a degree from player fees, so we've been talking in depth with our ownership group. Certainly, our goal is to emerge from this in the same financial position, or maybe better financial position than we were going into it. So each group is looking at their own sources of revenue. I mean, some of, it hasn't been a great environment for corporate sponsorship, but, in local areas, it's been surprising that there's still some corporate activity that are, looking forward to supporting our team and stuff like that. So we'll draw budgets the same way as we always do and say, well, here's how much it will cost us to run our season. We'll run it as efficiently as we can without sacrificing kind of player safety or anything like that. But, and then each group will decide kind of where the money's got to come from. And if that means, the option is that our players have to fund a little bit more from that, depending on what, where they are, then, that'll be the ask basically. And if we, it's not a play at all cost situation. It's a play where it makes, from a health perspective first, and then from a financial perspective second. We're certainly not going to allow any of our franchises to go into the ditch as a result of trying to eke out maybe a couple months of hockey here.
Absolutely. No, you have to be respectful of both ends. You talk about the rivalry that's about to begin this weekend. Thunder Bay and Cam River. We've talked to both coaches. They're looking forward to it. How excited are you, Darrin? And are you going to be wearing a certain color in the stands, perhaps?
Well, I'll be wearing the SIJHL colors for sure.
There you go.
But, yeah, I mean, always a great, when you can see a team kick off their inaugural game, the first time they get to drop the puck will be a big deal. Certainly, it's not under the circumstances that anybody had thought or hoped for at the time when they were granted a franchise back in the spring. But it'll be a great moment for them, and they'll do a fantastic job with it for sure. They're a professional run operation in every sense, and that'll be reflected in the opening night, I'm sure.
Yeah, they've definitely got some big names supporting the group in Cam River, and Thunder Bay has a track record that any junior program would love to have over there. I think they've been around for almost 20 years now. They've been almost since day one, have they not?
Yeah. Dryden is our only franchise that's been there continuously, but we used to have as many, I think, as 3 teams in Thunder Bay at one point, yeah. and the North Stars have a long track record. They've changed hands a couple times and changed names a little bit, but I think you can trace that team all the way back almost to the start of the league for sure. So it's one of the founding members of the league against the newest one, and they're both kind of playing it up as an exhibition game, but I know they both want to win it, so it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting, no doubt, because you talk about Ontario having an amended style of hockey that we're going to see on the ice. I mean, it's 4-on-4. It's no hitting. There's no body contact. There's no fighting, of course. You can't really share blood and make blood with a rivalry between 2 Thunder Bay teams like normal, but how is that going to look on the ice with those rule changes and those other changes that we will see starting this weekend?
Yeah, I mean it's going to look different for sure, and that's been the message to the players is that this is not the hockey that you showed up to play on March 12th when everything was shut down that you thought you were going to jump into. So good news is great, we get to get back on the ice. Bad news is there's going to be a lot of eyes watching us, a lot of critical eyes watching us. And it's up to us to demonstrate that that we're worthy of being given the green light to get back on the ice here, and that comes with tremendous responsibility. So it is going to be 5-on-5 hockey field. So we're going to try and progress as much as we can there. Certainly modified play for sure. And the legislation that's in Ontario right now basically is kind of a catch-all phrase in there that says that sports need to be modified to prevent intentional and or prolonged physical contact, basically, right? So that's the legislation that's there. And now we're almost on the cutting edge of trying to define, okay, what does that mean in the context of a hockey game, right? So we're kind of trying to think of what they think that means and put that into kind of our modified rules as we go here. But we'll be taking the game tape from Friday night and studying it in terms of trying to make sure that we are living up to our commitment to stay within those boundaries, basically, and what works, what doesn't. It is going to be a trial and error for sure. There are going to be certain non-optionals that that are built into our game, and certainly the body contact is something that we're reverting back to the rule that's in play for U13 hockey and that's in play for women's hockey, which is the body checking rule. I believe it's 6.2 in the Hockey Canada regulations. That's going to be in play for us, and essentially that means that you can't initiate contact essentially when two players are not moving in the same direction. So if I'm skating towards you and I put a shoulder into you, that's going to be body contact. Where there is a little bit of leeway is if players are skating in the same direction. So think of a forward coming down on a defenseman, trying to beat him to the outside. The defenseman is going to pivot and maybe get a shoulder in there. But we're going to watch that stuff real carefully and make sure that we're, adhering to the letter of the law as we're interpreting it. And certainly if we'll have input from other bodies as well if they think we're not interpreting it strongly enough or anything like that. So we'll see that. Certainly, I don't think we can say that we're trying to respect the letter of the law in terms of eliminating physical or intentional contact and still be in a situation where there's fights going on in our game. I mean, it's just simply non-optional to have a player drop the gloves there. We've instituted fairly significant team penalties and individual player sanctions for anybody that wants to engage in that. We've talked in person to both teams as well and kind of explained the gravity of the situation and really the opportunity, but not only that, the responsibility that comes with being one of the first leagues in Ontario to be able to step on the ice in a competitive situation here.
You will be scrutinized by not only players, fans, coaches, leagues, organizations, public health organizations. You're going to have a lot of eyes on you, Darrin, this weekend, and we're going to come back after the break. We're going to talk about that instance and the unprecedented times you faced here in your short term as being president here at the SIJHL. Stay with us here on the ice. with Darrin Nicholas here. Nicholas, SIJHL president. Darrin, before the break, we talked about two players colliding. That's not going to happen, but there might be a chance for a little NASCAR rubbing as racing, so to speak. We'll see what the gray area provides there. Talk to me about the education of this, not only to the players, but how it has to trickle down from public health to the officials and coaches having to be on the same page before the game on Friday. I mean, gray area will exist because it's all new and it's a learning curve. But how do you see the game changing with the fact that there is no body contact per se? Do you see it more flow? Do you see it faster? Do you see more penalties? How do you see this transpiring? Give me an idea what you think Friday night.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, my hope is that we see, the free flowing, fast, almost pond hockey that, you'd hope that would really kind of allow the skill to kind of shine through, right? I'll be honest, there's thoughts within our group that it could be, you always hear the fear that if you take the hitting and the fighting out of the game, then the chippiness starts and the sticks go up and stuff like that. And, certainly that's not an area where we want the game to go. Listen, it'll be different. I will not be afraid to talk with coaches or talk with officials during intermission. Like this is going to be a learning process for us. And, I said to a colleague today, like we're trying to teach kids in an instant not to do stuff that they've been trained to do and has been a habit and instinct for the last 10 or 15 years kind of thing, right? So, to expect it's going to happen in the very first time they step on the ice is not realistic, but that's kind of what the standard is. Unfortunately, we're only going to get one chance to launch our season here. There's probably there's probably only one or two ways we get through this and succeed, and there's probably dozens of ways where this can go off the rails and we can have our approval pulled. So we're really respectful of that. Our desire to get back is focused kind of solely on the kid, right? We've got players that have a finite window to be a junior hockey player. It's not indefinite. They're not adding another year of eligibility because the players got caught up in COVID. Their eligibility ends when they're 20 years old. So the clock is ticking, and the reason why we're on is for the players. And, if something goes sideways and we're not able to play, it'll likely be as a result of player action as well. So they're in total control on how this goes down. We're going to make sure they understand the importance of the situation, but we want them to have fun, and they should look at it as an opportunity to break, in some cases, 2 months worth of solid practice and get themselves into a situation where they get to compete. It's not going to be the compete that they're used to seeing. We all know that, but better than where they were nonetheless, I guess.
Developmental training camp has been probably 6 weeks too long for a lot of these kids. They're looking forward to true competitive action against someone else that's not wearing the same color jersey. Have you talked to the coaches, Darrin, and found out whether or not they've changed the philosophy of their team makeup at all? I mean, when you consider the fact that, we don't have certain elements of the game, does it make the team change its roster and its chemistry perhaps?
Yeah, to a degree, I guess, where they had a chance to influence that. I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot of player movement happen that I've seen so far in the early part here. And we're awfully cognizant of the fact that things could change quickly. I mean, at this time last week, if you would have told me I'd have been sitting here talking to you about a return to play, I would have thought we might have been from a different planet, right? But here we are, and just as quickly as we got approval for this, we could find out that there's going to be some form of contact coming back, and the game's going to start looking a little bit more normal. And from what I've been privy to and the information field that's come across, is that the real danger in hockey is not the on ice stuff. It's not the contact that happens in a split second. It's more how are kids behaving when they're in close proximity on the bench, when they're not playing, how are they in the dressing room for social distancing, stuff like that. So again, the stuff that I've been privy to would suggest that maybe the on ice stuff is not as dangerous as some of the other environments that they might find themselves in, either in or outside of hockey. But it'll be up to us to prove that, or be part of the group that proves that. And we may see that moves. And of course, the other thing that's happening, it's been pretty public in Ontario in the last week and a half, has been a declaration that should major junior hockey return, it would have to be without body contact as well. So there's been quite a bit posted and written about that since that announcement was made by the Minister of Sport last week. And so we're sure that major junior doesn't want to return under this, so it'll be interesting to see how that develops. And then does that spur on anything that we can piggyback off of and say, well, okay, if you deemed it safe to play major junior with body contact, we're the same living organisms as a major junior hockey player, so if it's safe for them, are we able to do it now? And that's really the critical thing. At the end of the day, we want to make sure our athletes, our fans, our towns get through this. We want to be a source of diversion for them and something they can look forward to after a day's work or a day of sitting in front of the TV, because there's not much else to do. So being the only thing that can happen, I mean, we want it to be good, but of course it's got to be safe for everybody. It's
almost an 8-month layoff, Darrin. If you look at it, from March 12th to November the 6th, it's almost 8 months since SIJHL has been on the ice. I mean, obviously unprecedented times. What is it going to feel like when you get to see those two teams Friday night finally step on the ice and compete?
Well, Friday night's going to be nervous, of course. I'll feel a lot better on Saturday night after we've got the first game under our belt and, a little bit more of an idea of what it's going to look like and stuff like that. But listen, we got good coaches. There's good players in our team. I shouldn't be worried from that standpoint. They'll have control over their guys and we're going to do our best to follow everything that's there, and it'll be a constant giving feedback. We're already getting ideas internally on kind of what else we can do in order to keep it. So we're talking about just as things as a simple, Theo, as you see it happen often in an NHL game where a defenseman after a whistle will reach down and pick up the puck and hand it to a referee, right? So we're talking about, do we want to put something in our game that says, only the game officials can handle the puck, nobody else touches it. We're talking about what players do, when they rinse their mouth out with water, and, are we forcing them now to swallow that water, or do they get to spit it out? Those types of things that probably most people that if they just showed up at the rink wouldn't notice any change, but that's kind of the level of the weeds that we're in right now, trying to make this as safe as we can.
It's the autonomic functions, like you said, picking up a puck as opposed to leaving it for an official. The celebrations, I think, will be minimal, only because of contact and whatnot after goals scored. It's going to look, when you're used to seeing hockey played in a junior hockey style, it's going to look different. There is no doubt. But the one thing we can say, Darrin, both you and I agree, is that we have been given an opportunity to come back to the ice and to give back to the community a potential, bit of entertainment that has been missing for so long. Darrin, I want to thank you very much for spelling this out for us, because we look forward to seeing how it's going to run this Friday, but also a bit of a congratulations to you and the teams to get everything in order and make sure you are one of those better guinea pigs, per se, to see how this operation is going to run and work throughout its preseason.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Darrin Nicholas, the president of the SIJHL. Look forward to seeing the two teams, the rival teams from Thunder Bay. I shouldn't say both from Thunder Bay, because I know Derek Geddes will probably shoot me an email saying, "No, we're Cam River. Better not. Don't you forget it." So Cam River and Thunder Bay will start this weekend, and you said Red Lake Falls and
Dryden? Red Lake and Dryden. Yeah,
Red Lake and Dryden will be the following weekend. So everything will be updated on the website, of course. All the updates, everything up to date will be put up as soon as it is told to us by them, to you. Darrin, again, thank you for joining me here on the ice.
Thanks, Theo. My pleasure.
Everyone out there, thanks for watching Amateur Sports TV. Tuesday, Thursday night, 7 o'clock, you'll find my show. And I thank Darrin Nicholas for joining me tonight. Have a great rest of the week, gentlemen and ladies, and all the little boys and girls. Get out there, play some hockey, enjoy the wonderful weather before the sun goes down, and have a great day. Goodbye for now.